Are you looking for a faster video? Well, today it's a live stream and I know you're probably looking for a really nice and tidy edited down video, but I have ways for you to make it faster. You can click that little gear on the YouTube settings right there on the video and adjust the playback speed, make me sound like a chipmunk, and it'll go a lot faster. You can also look and see if there's timestamps for this project in the description, and if you're on a desktop, you can hover over the time bar at the bottom of the screen and see if it's chunked up into chapters, and then that way you can go directly to the step you're looking for. And lastly, you can also tap on the screen on the right hand side of the video picture or on the left hand side to make the video jump ahead, forward or backward if you're on a mobile device. And you can adjust that amount in your settings so you can have complete control over how much it jumps. So if you are on a desktop, you can use the fast forward or the rewind, and that will make it go faster as well. You can also enable subtitles, and the little CC on the screen will enable closed captioning. That way, if I am a little bit harder to understand with that double playback speed, the subtitles might help you out. All right, well, I know that it's not a nice little edited video, but if you sew with me, we'll get there together and it'll be lots of fun. And now for the live stream. Happy sewing! Hi. Hello, hello. How are you? How are you? Hey, Marlies and Anna, the early birds. Hi, Danny. Hey, Claire. Hey, Barbara. Hey, Aussie. Hey, Shem. Hey, Taylor. Hey, Ann. Yeah, it's cold here, too. Hey, Sonia. Or Sonia, depending on how you pronounce it. How are you? Hi, Margaret. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, Marie. Sarah. This is like romper room today, isn't it? I was just realizing I didn't write down the steps, the order that they do it in the instructions, so I got them out just so I can do them sort of in the same order that they do it, so if that helps people more. Hey, Sue. Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you all. Welcome. How many of you are sewing this today? It's a romper room start to our day. I mean, you know, it worked for her, didn't it? Hey, Libby. How are you all? This is so satisfying to make these again. And by the end of the week, I'm going to have a whole new set of pajamas because I haven't even taken the pants home to wear at all. So, hey, Darlene. Welcome. All right, so we're sewing part 1 today, which means we go right into the collar pretty quickly. So usually I try and save that kind of step for a Saturday. However, there's really not a lot of steps on this shirt. You have the collar, which is kind of a big one, and then the sleeves and, you know, shoulder, side seams, armhole. So it's pretty, there's no darts, no shaping. So you're making pants today? Yes. I was going to say, anytime I see someone where I know, I'm pretty sure they're from Australia or New Zealand, I start doing the math in my head and I'm like, well, I know it's tomorrow, but it's also really early in the morning. You're reorganizing your studio again, Libby. You know, I saw your couch in the Zoom the other day, and I do miss having the little chair behind me. I didn't use it very much. It wasn't that comfortable. It was nice, though, to be able to sit in there sometimes, you know. But I loved getting the space of it not being there, too. So it's like one of those things, you know. I mean, I was thinking about it because I was like, oh, now that I have the storage space next door to me, maybe I could put a cozy spot. And I'm like, no, no, no. We're doing this to have a nice recording space, not a lounge. Yeah, and it's in the evening for the folks in Europe. Yep. I have made them in a knit, Anna. I made these in 2 sets with a knit, and I live streamed them too. So I did do some things differently. I will say one of my favorite pajama tops is identical to this in knit, and the collar's like kind of a mess on it. Like it sits like this on me. I didn't make that. Like there's a funny story about those pajamas, and they're little chickens wearing boots. And I was driving down from a show, from the Madrona show in Washington, and another vendor who I hardly know. I knew her a little bit. She was mutuals with people. She had my phone number because sometimes we would be like coordinating for dinners with multiple groups of people. And I started getting all these phone calls from her while I was driving from Washington to California, and the weather was kind of crazy. And I was like, why is she calling me? And so I finally like pulled over and listened to her messages. She's like, Sarah, I'm at Target. And there's pajamas with chicken boots. And she's like, do you want me to get them for you? You can pay me back when we get to Stitches. I'll totally buy them for you. Like 2 messages later, she's like, I've already bought them for you. I'm bringing them down, because we were all driving down to Stitches West in California. And sure enough, when I saw her, she had a set of pajamas for me that had chickens and boots. And my old business was called Chicken Boots. And so it is kind of funny, but they're really comfortable. So I love the knit aspect. I've totally already sidetracked. Sorry, Anna. I love the knit aspect of it. So I did woven bottoms, and I did a knit top. And then along the front, I did oh gosh, how do I describe this? It's like a baseball jersey. So I put a seam down the front here, like 2 inches away. There's no collar. It's like a facing. It's like the facing's exposed with piping in it. So you can look back on that. Just go to my website, and then you'll find all the videos for Carolyn pajamas there, and you'll see it. The picture is, the fabric is moths. One of them is moths, and one of them is floral. Both spoonflower. Hey, Mullen, how's it going? Yeah, you have a spot for yourself on your couch, Libby. Hey, Amy. Yeah, I think knit's a great idea. Yeah, you've been watching old live streams. Yeah. Exactly, Anna. It's a very light knit, the chicken boots ones. Yeah, exactly, Anne. Yeah, I think Garnet Hill does too. Yeah, and what I did was I ordered the same print from Spoonflower, but I ordered it in a knit, and I ordered it in a woven, so that it looked like a completely coordinated set of pajamas, but knit and woven. I wanted the pants to last longer than they can, you know, so. Anyway, let's get to it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is put this little pocket together. And if you don't know, NeedleSharp gave me this whole project, the bottoms and the top, in one of their kits to sew this month, which is really awesome. You get everything you need in one of their kits. I used to use them unsponsored. I had a subscription for like a year, and I love it. I love her fabric choices. There's lots of different levels, and there's different fabric selections within each level, so you get to choose. And you can skip a month. It's not like some subscriptions where you can't skip a month, but you can. The only thing that she didn't include, and this is not a strike against her, is my piping today. And I'm using piping from like, I think it's from the 60s. It's vintage. It still smells musty after I washed it. So, yeah, exactly, Target. That's where mine are from, my chicken boots ones. All right, so this is a directional print. So we want this to sit... it is not a directional print. I don't know why I just said that. It is a two-way print. Yeah, it is a really great selling feature of Spoonflower, you know. Oh, you know what? I'll bet they sew this a particular way. Let me look. I know how I would do this, and I would just sew it in a seam and then turn it under the edges. Is that how they do it? Or do they finish? Oh, yeah, they do this. Wait, do they? You know, honestly, we could clean finish this puppy. Let's do that. Hey, Lindsay. Ah, see, you're here. I sent off the labels. I hope they get there soon. That's actually where the show was that I drove down from. Let's see here. Let's put this, this is all wrinkly. I kind of want to get rid of the stitching because it's a problem. Like the stitching that's on this, do you see that? It's so close to the cord that it's really hard to manage it. Is this right end that I don't think so. I feel like it's like this. I feel like I finally figured out that, let's see, am I right? Before I tell you the secret. Is this it? One of the secrets to ripping out a chain stitch. This is so old though, it might not do it. Okay, yeah, here, this is one of the secrets. If you have the chain stitch facing up, so this is the lumpier side, right? This side, it looks like regular stitches. This side looks like the chain stitch. If you have it facing up and the raw edge is up, it's going to go that way. Does that make sense? But this one's so old, I have to keep undoing a loop. There we go. And then we just remove it. It'll all stay together just fine. So I'm going to tack this on here first. Oh, I haven't threaded my machine or turned it on. I know, the piping is a nice touch. I'm glad I'm using it because, you know, it's just sitting there. I'm not huge on piping, you know. Hey, redhead. How's it going? All right, so I'm going to clean finish this. So I'm going to attach the piping to the pocket bottom first. And, oh yeah, it's a 5/8 inch seam too. So let's line this up like this. If that, gosh, I have to really pull this down here. Sheesh. That is really, I'm not using a zipper foot because my machine is not a traditional zipper foot. Oh, that I can deal with that. That's fine. It's in the seam allowance. I'm going to go. But it does make it a little harder to sew because it's going to grab my... Please get off of the cord. Oh, I guess it's okay. It's like pulling it over. I wish you could see it. All right, and now I'm going to take this little cuff and I'm going to sew it to the wrong side here. Right side to wrong side. The chain stitch is too far over. I know it's going to show. That's the only reason I'm taking it out. Not that I'm doing much better of a job right now, to be honest. All right, now we're going to go to the iron. So we're gonna sew the back of this, or iron the back of this. Oh, I didn't change my bobbin. Look at that. We're gonna have to change that, but we can turn this under here. You don't have to do a clean finish. It's just sometimes fun to do, especially if you don't have piping. The piping's not making it fun right now. Hey, Nancy. Oh, I saw that you wrote that. That's awesome. Yeah, you're making them in linen. Linen is nice. I'm just going to take out this one basting stitch right here, if I can get it. And I'm going to lengthen my stitch a little bit. So if you have a zipper foot that you can put to the right or left of your needle, it's going to be a lot easier. I can't do that with this machine. My zipper foot is a really narrow foot and it makes it even harder to sew. Stuff like this. I don't even use it for zipper most of the time. There we go. And let me change my bobbin. This is the pocket. This is the chest pocket. It has a little piping cord if you want. And there's a solid piping piece too. Where's my... Oh, there it is. I was going to say, I specifically wound a bobbin for this. But we need to put one on the machine that's winding. That's the rule. You always need to be winding a bobbin when you're using a bobbin. That's my rule. Or a piping foot. Exactly, Elena. Oh, here's a, this one's gonna run out soon, but that's okay. Yeah, I don't know if I'm the best expert on that though, Marie. I don't do it a whole lot. I don't use a cording foot, which would be really helpful, and your machine could even have one. Clearly I could be doing a better job right now because this is so close. So we're just gonna lay this over here, and let's zoom in a little today. I almost said deactivate. Yeah, I mean, a spare machine is great when I do a contrast thread. Would you like it closer than that? Or would you like it a little closer? Is that too close? We'll try and cover up that stitching I put on there. We'll put a couple pins in. This is going to want to shift, so I might as well. And see. Yeah, I'm not a piping expert. All right. And we're going to use the awl too to kind of control it over there. I'm going to actually keep this straight. That's going to hang out, but that's okay. It's in my seam allowance. We won't sweat that. Just so I can keep this cuff looking straight, you know. Maybe I can pull his piping down to kind of fake that it's sewn in straight. I mean, fabric's pretty malleable. Sometimes you can fake it, you know. You love it this close, yeah. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see what I'm working on. There we go. And see, now it's clean finished except for the purple bobbin thread left over from my last project. Doesn't matter that it's clean finished, it's just fun to do. All right, we're gonna add this to the top now. I have my circles marked here at the neckline. They're really kind of funky too. Okay, there we go. I don't really think I need it too precise. All right, so I doubt you can see, but I drew on my, oh yeah, you can see that. You see that faint line? So that's the placement for my pocket here. Just like that. Yeah, that linen sale looked pretty good. I didn't even see you. Hey, Aisha. How's it going? Yeah, summer sews. Why did I pin this so close? I'm just going to pin this like in the middle here. I'll turn it back. And then I'm going to start down at the bottom of this cuff. I'm going to go at an angle up to the top here. I'm also going to fold back this little turn back thing. That's a pet peeve of mine. So I usually just fold it under like a quarter, like a triangle. Oof. It's a little further in than I wanted to go. There we go. Probably not doing a full 5/8, but it's more of a proportion thing for me. Quilting cotton is so interesting. Like it's a little thick compared to like a poplin, you know, or something. But at the same time, it's kind of stretchy. I wonder why quilting cotton became the fabric of choice for quilting. Like, how did quilting cotton become quilting cotton? You know what I mean? Because if you were to look at different companies like Art Gallery is a really good example. Their fabric feels more like a like a cross between a poplin and a lawn. It's smoother, it's a little tighter. You could use it for garments, but they call it a quilting cotton. Oh my gosh. I almost went straight across the top. We love to start these sewing streams of really popular garments with some seam ripping. Look, there we go. I knew it. I knew it. I knew that we were going to start with something major. I don't want to talk about it. I don't know. This is the perfect time to unsubscribe, by the way. Yeah, a lot of quilting cottons don't feel good. This one feels nice. This one's pretty soft. This is a Ruby Star Society quilting cotton. Yeah, oh no. I thought I pulled this out of the way. Didn't even feel it under there. It's that soft. Rip! There we go, Mullen. Thank you. And it's, of course, the triangles that I stitched. I'm not kidding, you guys. If you're new here, this is how, like, anytime I'm going to do a garment that is, like, something I know people really like, or, you know, because I don't always do, like, huge bestseller, you know, patterns. But when I do, this is what happens at the beginning of every stream. What do you mean what happened? Isn't it obvious? I said I don't want to talk about it, so there you go, Mary. I like the frog. I like that you're a knitter. I get it. That's honestly is such a good. No one's ever done that before, Mary. I love it. I should have made my my rip thing. Well, actually, our ripping thing is an inside joke because I think I had to rip a lot one stream early on. I don't remember what it was for. And we started talking about the invention of the seam ripper. It's my favorite tool too. Well, it's one of my favorites. We started talking about the inventor of the seam ripper and just what an essential tool that it hasn't really changed a whole lot in a while. And we started wondering who invented it. And it was a man with the last name Miller. So then the joke of it being Miller time came about. And then it became a drinking game because it was Miller time. And so if you used to be able to put a command in my chat, ! Drink, anytime I used a seam ripper. For some reason my commands aren't working. I just haven't been bothered to check it out. So it was just folded over, yeah. Oh yeah, the medical scalpels. Yeah, I don't like those, but some people love them. And I think that that's what's great about certain tools is that you may have never really liked a certain tool, and then someone will come out with a different version of it, and you're like, oh, now see this I get. And I think that that's so great because I don't think one's better than the other. I'm never going to tell you really that something's better than the other. It's pretty rare. Do whatever you want. There's no rules, no matter what anyone tells you. There's no rules. That's the secret. That's the whole secret with sewing. All right, let's get this back on track. That looks a little wider than down here. 1, 2, 3. Get this one a little, check the width. Yeah, it is a tiny bit wider, not much. All right. I'm glad it's on a fabric and a color of thread I don't really feel is very noticeable for the back stitch. All right. We're back on track, right? Yep, and that's why the emoji ended up being a little like something to drink. It doesn't have to be alcoholic. Oh, it doesn't? I think I have one of those, Michelle. I think, well, this is the one someone gave me. Just getting this off makes me nervous. It looks like this. People love these. Mine's still sitting here brand new. They love these too, but this is a little more fussy. This is like a safety thing. Oh, I love these. Boink, boink. Okay, we're gonna do our shoulders. So I'm gonna be doing French seams for the shoulders, but when I do the armhole and the side seam, I'm gonna do flat felled seams. And you don't have to do that. I think it'll just be nice for pajamas to be as smooth as possible. That's why I'm thinking of doing it that way. So you can do whatever you want, and I will let you know so you don't accidentally put flat felled seams. Yeah. Yeah, Barbara. I've actually worked places where they didn't allow seam rippers, and you get really good at using a pair of scissors. It's not smart, though, to do that. Like in a factory or professional setting, they should just allow seam rippers. You know, making it so that there's no seam rippers does not mean people make fewer mistakes, you know? So the squishy handles were hard to get used to for me, because if you really want to, like, wait, is this? Oh, yeah, okay. If you really want to press hard with your scissors, like you're cutting something really thick, the blades don't move, the handles do. It also, though, has, you know, I think protected the blades from me using them in places I probably shouldn't. I'd love the larger size. Okay, so when you're doing, this is a good example. When you're doing shoulder, like a seam like this, you're going to do a French seam. So you see how this sticks out right here? This is my seam that I just sewed way up here, and look, that's not even lining up right there. But when you sew French seams, you need to line up the seam on the finished seam allowance right there. So this is the 5/8 inch seam right there. Because when we do the final pass, that's where we're gonna sew. So. All right. We're gonna, let's see, I think I'm gonna trim this one just a little bit. Yeah, you know what, Michelle, my daughter said the same thing. She said, why do you have this here? She said that's what it was for. I thought that was funny. It's when you see an expensive thing in one industry, and then it's, you know, $1 in another industry. Like that's the type of thing they'll bring from one industry and they make it really expensive in another. All right, so we're just gonna press these one direction. So remember, I'm doing French seams for the shoulders, but flat felled for the armhole and the side seams. I could do flat felled for this, but it's just really not necessary for the shoulders. Iron it right there on that seam. Okay, there we go. Just trying to make it so it's not pulling, the weight of the garment isn't pulling off the table. All right, so now we're going to do the final pass here. Let me open that up a little bit. There you go. And see, now that I'm on that juncture, see, now I'll have a nice smooth line of my neckline there, especially if I press the seam allowance to the back. That's what you're going for. You see that thread that was going through there? What was that about? That was weird. All right, we are to the collar. I'm gonna stay stitch this from circle to circle here. That way I don't have to keep these pins in here. If you're here long enough, you'll know how much I don't like 5/8 inch seams for stuff like this. I didn't cut them down though. I'm gonna sew it the way it is, but it really should be 1/4 inch. It's a lot easier. Trust me. Anytime you're doing stuff like collars or sleeveless stuff, facings to necklines, anything fiddly, trim it down to 1/4 inch seam allowance and try it if you're having trouble. It's a lot easier to deal with. All right. Okay, so put that stay stitch in there. So let's get our collar out. We're going to need some piping. We're going to need the facings. Collars, the facings. Okay, what's this? The sleeves. All right. And what is that? That's my gift bag I'm going to sew on Saturday. Okay, we have our facings, piping. We have our collar. Here's our top collar. And I think I have the pattern piece, right? I kept that one out. Yep, right here. So we have this. And so we're going to do a stay stitch. And we're going to go from this circle all the way along that. Why is the video stuttery? Is it stuttery for you guys? It's not, right? Is it just an optical illusion? It looks like the FPS is really, really low or something. It's like 10 FPS or something. All right, let me see here. Let me mark. This little circle is basically the juncture of your seam allowances right here. So the other thing you could do is just draw them in. It'll actually could be really helpful later. We'll use this soapstone pencil so you can see it maybe better than using my Hera marker. Oh, look at that little circle ends up being a mushroom. That's convenient. Sometimes it's great to understand where this marking is. That way, if you lose it or you don't want to go get your pattern piece out, it's kind of nice. It's like, oh, I know that was the juncture of the seam allowance, right? Yep. It's probably like just inside of it. All right, and then you're going to need that little marking there, and you're going to need your shoulder line right here, which I've clipped, and then there's a circle there as well, which is just going to be on the seam line as well, right there. So this one's right, it's about right there. That makes sense, right there. It looked okay? Okay. It might be because I have the sharpness way up. That probably is all it is. All right. So we're going to put a stay stitch in here. I do this on the, well, I want to do it on the top and the bottom. I want to follow their directions so I don't counter anything too much. Yeah. Oh, they don't do it on the undercollar. That's what it was. Okay. I just ran out of bobbin, I think. Yeah. It is not a camp collar. It is a notched collar because it has a lapel shim. It is similar in some ways, and sometimes you will sew the facing of a lapel to the undercollar. Hi, Julie. How's it going? You didn't miss it today. I'm just taking this stay stitch out because the tension was really terrible on it. Another way to look at it, Jim, is that you can't button up this shirt, the pajama shirt, all the way to the neck, and then the collar would meet right here because it has a lapel, so it's purposely meant to fold back. So it is, yeah, it's a notched collar with a lapel. Mostly notched collars have lapels, and then there's lots of different kinds of them, and you'll see them in coat construction mostly. There's all these funny little names for the different types of notched collars too. I don't remember them all, but like clover and stuff like that, and it's like all has to do with like if the collar right here, if it's rounded, if it's pointed, and same with the lapel. If the lapel's rounded, if it's pointed, if the collar goes past the lapel, if the lapel goes past the collar. If you don't have a collar and you just have the lapel, that's called a revere, I think, a revere, which you don't see very often, but they're cool little collars, and they just don't have the collar. It's just a lapel. And so just like, you know, it just flops open like this. Like it would be a clean neckline, and then your little, that would be your center front, like this. You've seen those before. I know you've seen them, but all right, let me get my sample fabric here. All right. All right, so let's see, I wrote down my little stay stitch clip. Now we're going to clip. This is such big seam allowance. Oh yeah, that's not a camp collar then. A camp collar is called a camp collar, which is not the correct term for it. It's a camp shirt with a convertible collar. And a convertible collar, do you guys all like all this? Do you guys want this lesson in pattern drafting? Because I don't know how useful it is because it's hard to remember all of it. But basically, a convertible collar is most collars when you can leave it buttoned or unbuttoned. If it's unbuttoned and it kind of flops open and it still looks okay, that's a convertible collar. Say you were going to use something like a Peter Pan collar. A Peter Pan collar you are supposed to wear buttoned up. People will unbutton a shirt that has a Peter Pan collar, right? But the shirt doesn't, the collar doesn't like flop open and look okay. It's not finished right here. It's different. It's supposed to be buttoned up. It's very prim. Or like a mandarin collar, which I'm not sure if there's a more appropriate name for a mandarin collar right now. No, a convertible collar doesn't have a stand. No. I also see like the term two-piece collar used for a collar and collar stand, but it's usually collar with stand, collar and stand. That's the technical term for a collar with a collar stand, for like a button-down or button-up shirt. And then, but a mandarin collar is not just a collar stand, because a mandarin collar meets right here. And I often will say, oh, you could use that and do it as a mandarin collar, but that's not technically accurate. Because I wish I knew if there's a new term for a mandarin collar, but that just meets right here. It doesn't overlap and button like a collar stand does. Nerdy collar talk with Sarah Me. It's so weird how some things you just get. Like, I wish I got other things in life. Like, I get pattern drafting stuff, you know? Like, it's cool, but is it really a useful party trick? Not really. Unless I was at a party with sewists. You know? I'm just going to, I'm not even going to mark that, but we're going to put the undercollar right sides together and sew the center back seam. Like, my machine just doesn't seem the same right now. It's not sewing bad or anything, but if Terry were here, she'd understand. Nope, exactly, Michelle. I know it doesn't. I'm just kind of wondering, like, if there's another word for that, because people will use the term collar stand for one, but that's not. It's not a collar stand. A bricklayer's collar in Swedish. Oh, that's really interesting. It's a party trick, you make your party dress. That's true. I love that name too. It's called a bricklayer's collar. Yeah, those are terms though that have come about in the sewing world though. Yeah, where is our Terry? Yeah, it's a virtual party with other sewists. Okay, here's my undercollar. And it's got I got my notch there. Okay, we're good. We're gonna put this away. All right. We're gonna press this. I have a little cheat sheet. See, look at, I wrote down the steps in the instructions because I want to make sure I do it roughly in the same order they do, just in case you're trying to follow along with me. But I'm gonna press this right now, and we're gonna press this up like this along this edge here, and we're gonna put that stay stitching just on the inside of the press. So I'm gonna do, that's what I'm gonna do over there at the ironing board right now. I know the iron, since I don't stand on that side anymore, I know it's a little harder to see my angle, but sometimes I get in the way. So that's why I'm on this side. Like that. And I'm going to clip this little spot right here a little deeper because my stay stitch is just on that side. But I didn't want to be too overzealous, you know. So. Yeah, it is not a mandarin collar. That's my point. Oh, I'm going to iron this too. I just wanted to say that because a lot of people think of a mandarin collar as a collar stand, but it's not. The mandarin collar doesn't overlap. And I just don't correct people when they say that because I'm not the pattern police. And whatever, if we all understand what we're talking about, that's most important to me. When I used to take clients, it never was an issue if they didn't speak lingo. Like, I don't care about lingo. As long as I understand what they're talking about, because sometimes I didn't, you know. All right, we're going to put the piping on the top collar here. All right. And we're going to go, I'm going to remove this chain stitch again. So I'm just going to take, where's the end? It's all like rumpled because I washed it. I really should, you know, iron it, but you know. I'm just gonna walk this around, see how much I need, and lop off a piece. Let's see if we can get it. There we go. It's the wrinkles that are in my way now. It's been sewn like this for, you know, almost 50 years, so it's gonna stay. Okay. I'm looking at this little thread. This little thread's probably going to be a problem. So I've been experimenting with like things like this. You see this little thread right here? This is the end of my stay stitching. The camera doesn't look jittery to you? The FPS looks so low. Okay, so this is one of my things lately. I really hate this little thread. This little thread right here can really ruin your sewing finish, right? This little thread. You could cut it, right? We could just cut it, and that's probably what I'll do. But the problem with that is now it'll just start like getting longer and longer because it'll start backing out of its seam, right? And then that little thread can sneak out of your seam and show to the right side. So you don't usually do a back stitch for a stay stitch, but I have been experimenting with getting rid of this by starting here. Like I would start here, back up to there, and then go forward. And then that way that little thread is, it's still in the seam and it could sneak out, but it's not like this little spot right here, which is already a little bit tricky to sew. You know, it's a tiny bit jittery. Yeah, I see it. All right, so anyway, I just wanted to say that. All right, let's watch me sew this piping on here kind of badly. First, why is my needle eye, it's like pointing over there. It's really hard to thread right now. It's harder than usual. I hope that if you guys are ever on, you know, The Price is Right, not The Price is Right, I don't know, some sort of show where you had trivia and then someone asked you, what's Sarah Me's least favorite thing to do on camera? You're all going to know what the answer is, right? All right, I'm going to start this a little bit over and hope that stays like that. So right now I'm lining this seam with the seam line of the collar. That's why a 1/4 inch would be so much nicer. I'm going to clip that curve later too. Yeah, we were nerding out on collar discussion. We talked about why this isn't a camp collar. It's where it started. And then I kind of got nerdy. You know how it is, Elena. I'm going to leave this tail long. It just started getting a little bit off, so. The way I'm just basting this on there, I probably could use my zipper foot for this. It would work for this. Nerding. Being a little more cautious this time because that happens. I start sewing on the cord. It just jumps over there. I need a cording foot, don't I? There is one for my Juki, right? Where's Terry? No, no, no. Get back. Ooh, I just unstitched that. I caught it just in time. There we go. I am a beginner at piping. I am just using my applied skills to attach it. and try and do the best I can with what I know. That's where you got to start, right? Hello, Jeb. How's it going? Welcome. Greetings from California. If you make it yourself, Michelle, I don't know. I feel like the piping is pretty, this is vintage. I don't think it's much wider these days, but someone else can probably tell you. Just make it yourself. Then you can pick whatever you want. It doesn't have to be a solid or one of the weird prints they have, you know? Okay, so we've got our piping on there. I'm going to get rid of some of these little thread tails so they don't sneak out. And then now we're going to put the undercollar to the top collar. I'm going to put a few pins in this because the top collar has been ironed with interfacing. It's been stay stitched, and it has piping on it. And so now it's probably shrunk up a little bit, you know. All right, and so now I'm just going to sew to the left of this stitch line here. I should have probably clipped my piping. See, it's like getting a little bit slack, but this is actually feeling bigger, not smaller. I could have clipped my piping, that little seam, so it would spread around the corner better. I should have, but it honestly, because of the bias that's made in bias, it was actually behaving pretty good, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm just going right to the left of that. Hey Jen, how's it going? I just saw someone said hi to you. So let's look inside here. What's going on? It's looking pretty good. I feel like this is the most careful I've ever been. So it's going to look better than usual. Alrighty. All right, we're going to clip this edge, these curves. I'm actually going to trim it down too. That's understandable, Jen. Just got to take each step one at a time. It's a little more digestible that way. And I think really the collar is the big detail. Hopefully I'll make it so that it's more appealing. We'll see. I'm just clipping into this curve here. I need to look and make sure it's okay though. Yeah, that looks pretty good. It just felt really stiff there, and it's because of the piping seam allowance here. Oh, wow, Sydney. You're like, I just got all that back. Yeah, I would skip the piping for sure. Or use a piping without cord in it. That is a lot faster and easier. The thing you have to worry about that is that it's even. That will be the struggle with it, is that the cord, the flat piping is like an even width. Hey, Justine. All right, I'm gonna iron this. I'm so glad I got rid of that stitching. I usually do this seam all in one go as well, but I'm not doing that today. I feel like this will give me a more consistent edge. This is the undercollar, so I'm just gonna press that up first. But if you do it all in one go, you don't have to worry about seeing your stitching. And so there's some really great advantages to that. This stuff is so narrow though. I don't think I could do it. Unless I trimmed the seam allowance down to match the piping, which would honestly be preferable, you know? It's easier to get even with colored piping. Well, it's not that it's easier. You're sort of forced to. You can definitely, I mean, it's definitely going to be uneven. Like, I can tell, like, this right here to here. See that? It's uneven. The piping kind of fluffs it up, though. Do I have my, did I bring my shirt home? Oh, I can get my shirt without the piping. Isn't it? Yeah, it's right here. Oh, here's the bottoms, too. So, you know, this right here is a flat edge, and I'm sure that it's narrower in places than others, you know? You can't really tell. This is what we're going for, though, by the way, you know? This is what we're about to sew. I think I did stitch this down. The piping does make it look a little fancy, doesn't it? I like piping just because, or I actually am not a big fan of cording. I don't care about the cording or not. It does make it nice and like it's filled in, whereas like you could tell that gets wrinkly a little bit, you know? So this maintains a more consistent width once laundered and stuff, which is nice. Sleeping in it, some people don't like sleeping in garments with piping in it. Wait, you just said something that kind of made me think of something. But, well, whatever. It doesn't matter. But, yeah, I mean, looks nice. Oh, I know it is. I was going to say, I like this because it's a contrast edge. I really like contrast edge to kind of highlight the style lines, right? So if we didn't have this contrast piping, this collar would just get lost in the garment. So that's why I'm doing it too. Plus I have it. So, all right, I think we can top stitch this now, right? I don't know. You can't really later on, so I'm gonna make sure. This is something I don't want to lead you astray on. Maybe not. These old school Closet Corp instructions are so interesting. They're pretty simple. And like, I remember on one of these, I was like, are you talking about the top collar or the under collar right now? Because they don't show it. So maybe we don't top stitch. We're going to top stitch this all at the end. There's not a picture for every step, so let me just check. Because I feel like this is our chance to top stitch this. We can't top stitch this later. Maybe you don't top stitch it. Do you want to top stitch it? I don't know. I feel like you top stitch this. Okay, well you don't have to if you don't want to. If you want to top stitch your collar, you need to do it now because you won't be able to later. So. What, can you not use piping on? Oh, I mean, probably lots of things. Hey, Kathleen. No, Sydney, it didn't. No. That's a bummer. I'm sorry to hear that. Wow. She was making a ballet top for her sister's wedding. See, here's this little thread. It's going to poke out. If I had put it over here, it wouldn't be like there. All right, so we're going to line up our collar between those circles, right? How do you say your name? Piewacket? Thanks, that's nice of you. Maybe they're just engrossed. All right, so we're gonna pin the undercollar now, right sides together to your top. All right, so let's zoom out just a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Just a little bit so you can see the whole shirt. It's a little better. Maybe I need to brighten it up too. Y'all are always welcome to tell me. Thanks for subscribing, Yala. I just saw that alert. It's 12 now. Thanks, Michelle. All right, so here we have your Carolyn PJ top, right? So this is it, right side up. See, this is a front right here. Shoulder seam. This is the back, all right? And then here's our collar, and it is top collar up. That's the edge we just turned under. So you're going to take that center back seam of your undercollar, and you're going to pin it to the center back of your Carolyn pajamas, all right? And so line up your notch to your shoulders. Press the shoulder seams towards the back, however you made them. And do it on both sides. And then the front collar is going to end, like you're stacking those circles that we marked. Thanks, you guys. Right? So this little lumpity-dump edge here is, I know, it's annoying, but you need it. So don't like get rid of it. Just line it all up on the seam line. It'll all sew together, I promise. It'll be weird, you know? Oh, that's funny, Michelle. All right, so there's my little circle. I have my stay stitching going to the circle there, so I'm just lining it up. Remember, you're not lining up the edge of your piping because maybe you don't have piping. It's the edge of your collar to that line right there. So that gives you an extra 1/8 inch on each side. So hopefully if it wasn't matching up, now it will be because you're like, oh yeah, that's right. I want to do the whole collar. So we're just going to do the under collar. But we are going to sew this piece, and if you weren't watching me, I would sew this all at once, and so I'll show you what I mean. Because sometimes it's easier that way. I'm going to pull this a little bit over. So if you need to draw in your seam allowance on this lumpy edge here, go for it. All right, and so we're going to be sewing. See, I would normally go like this. I would keep this attached here, and I would do this, leave this loose, and then go around like that. But we'll do it in 2 steps for you, just in case. And I'm not saying that because I think that way is better. I just think it's easier because it's going to be clear in a second why. Because when you have to peel back this edge right here, that I didn't finish pinning actually. Let's finish pinning this. Pull this little stay stitch thread, pull it towards the raw edge. You don't want it to come back to haunt you. So we're going to line up the seam of the collar there and the raw edge there. Because we have to peel this back like this, so maybe not. So my whole spiel about top stitching, if you've top stitched, then you're going to have to leave this as a part of the neck and sew it all at once. Because it's top stitched right here, right? But if it's not, you can peel this back and sew this seam separate. And that's why I say, doesn't it seem like it would be easier if you just left this against here and then sewed it? I think so, especially because then I would probably go like this, flip it over and sew it from the stay stitch side and just be sure not to catch this little back neck edge in. I just like to give you lots of ideas just in case one thing's fiddlier than the other, you know? So You broke down. It sounds like you treated yourself in a good way. Oh, boucle is kind of fun. Yeah, I really like her fabric selections. I always say that, but I do. All right, so I peeled back this collar, so let's zoom in again. I always pin perpendicular because I just sew over my pins, which is not a popular, like there's definitely people who feel strongly about not sewing over your pins, but I do. I don't mind it. All right, so make sure this is pulled taut because there's a lot going on in there. Look at all those wrinkly things there. They may come back to haunt me. We'll get rid of it. If we get a tuck, it's going to be fine. I'm also going to unpin this a little bit. Do you see how my piping is sticking out past this raw edge right here? Let's just clip this off flush. I hope that was okay. And then I'm going to be able to easier see that I have this raw edge flush with the raw edge of the neckline because I was letting it kind of fall short. So I'm going to get my machine in here, pull this all back. My hands are doing a lot. They're pulling everything back in all different ways. And we're going to... All right, I've just got the machine on there. Now I'm going to arrange this a little bit better. So we're going to pull this all. And because of all this lumpy goodness, I'm going to slightly do this with my hands. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to curve it up like this, all right? There's a lot of play, and I can feel the stay stitch in there, which is nice. And I'm going to pull this collar, make sure that I'm getting it lined up to the raw edge. It'd be so nice to sew from the other side. All right. I feel like I'm not quite to the left of my stay stitch. So I may be going back in there. Now at your shoulder here, make sure you spread your shirt apart. Otherwise you'll get a tuck if it kind of does this over itself, you know, like this kind of blumps over. You don't want that. You don't want to tuck there. You're worried about tucks in your collar already, right? So like I said, I'm kind of doing this little motion with my hands. 85% of sewing is fabric handling. And that just comes with time and practice. And you can see I'm always moving my shirt so it stays perpendicular to the needle. Don't let it do this or this. It really affects how it lays at the seam there and where your seam is stacked, you know, one on top of the other right at the seam line there. So I'm just like now I'm unfolding this mess here and making sure this is all perpendicular. I'm at the center back now. See this little raw edge poking out? That means I'm just going to pull on the shirt a little so it lines up. If you've ever had trouble getting a collar sewn in, you're just like, it doesn't fit. There's no way this pattern's correct. I have been you before for sure. I totally get it. And I know now that I just wasn't sewing perfect seam allowance or the raw edge is lined up. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes the patterns are a little bit off. But if you need help like with that, especially on these little curvy little roller coaster rides, draw your seam align on there. It helps so much. There's nothing wrong with that. I do it. You'll see me do that. I draw my seam line on there to make sure I'm doing it because why guess? It's not like it's a contest and you're going to get a trophy or anything. What you're going to get is less frustration, and that is worth gold in my book. Okay, so here I am at the end here. I'm going to pull this pin out here. Again, I'm going to trim this. I'm going to peel back this collar, line up this raw edge. I'm a little off right there approaching here, I can tell. And see, like, I pull it back and I sew that seam just like that. But we're going to sew it like this. So you don't have to go all the way to the edge if it's getting hard for you. On a smaller size, you might have a little trouble getting in there. All right, so let's see. Oh, look, see there I have a, well, I don't quite have a tuck, but I almost had a tuck. If you have a tiny tuck, before you despair and take it out, I want you to go like this. I just want you to scratch it. Just scratch it, because sometimes the tuck is happening between where the needle goes in the fabric and out of the fabric on either side of it, and you can kind of like smooth it out. You'd be surprised how often that's the case. Your needle didn't pierce the fold of the fabric. You're fine. All right, look at that seam allowance right there. It's a little bit off. That is the seam I sewed. This is the stay stitch. How do I feel about that? It's a little wide right there, but it's all sewing in here. All right, so let's pull out this pin here before we leave that in there. And then let's look at it on this side. So I can see my stay stitch there, so we would fix that. I do have a tuck at my shoulder after all my whole speech. I felt it happening, that's why I said something. It was probably too late at that point. So we'll fix that little tuck there. So you can see it. There it is, right there. Oops, sorry. We're so zoomed in. Sorry, I'm not showing you things. You always gotta be careful when I'm zoomed in like that. So we're just gonna take out a few stitches on either side. This always happens at shoulder seams. All right, pull back all of your collar. Don't cause another problem by fixing one. And pull this all nice and smooth. Make sure that you're not getting a new tuck at that shoulder. And maybe you didn't even get a tuck in your shoulder like me. Okay, let's see. That looks like a tuck, but we can scratch that guy out too. It's just this really wide seam allowance is really the problem. Actually, I'm gonna get rid of it. If we had a narrower seam allowance, it would be a lot easier. That little tuck looked crooked, so that's why I'm gonna fix it. I hate all these little cuts in my sewing though, because then these little threads can poke out of the seam. Jeez. Calm down there, Phoenix. All right, let's check. We're just setting ourselves up for success, right? All right, so this little spot where my stay stitching is showing right here. Let's look at it. This is the, I feel like that's just too wide where that stay stitching is, so I'm going to take out the stay stitching instead of making the seam wider. Yep. It's so easy to cause another problem while fixing another. I know that firsthand. That's why I just show you. I don't consider these things mistakes either. They're just a part of the process. Mistake is like when you fold down the front of your shirt and catch it in your pocket. That's a mistake. Things like this is just, you know, technique, right? This is like, I'm trying to find this. Here it is right here. This little seam here. I'm going to pull it from, I know this is probably a little extra for some of you. This is like right here. What is this? But I will sometimes pull the thread to the inside. I really hate when threads peek through my seams. In my opinion, something doesn't look home sew because you used a home sewing machine. It's because you left all the threads hanging out on it. What is it? Where is this thread going right here? This is what I don't understand. Huh. I'm just going to back tack that because I feel like it shouldn't be there. I just want to make sure my collar doesn't come apart right there. Now, if I had practiced this, I probably could have just sewn it on without much problem, but so I always do that if I don't want to have any problems. Just practice sewing one. All right, we're going to clip this whole neckline. I have my hand against the collar so I don't accidentally clip it. That's a mistake. All right, just making sure I'm not clipping through the seam. We checked, and I did notice, you know, all of the, where the stay stitching was showing on the right side, but I could have missed a spot. It's a look for sure. Yeah, my curse is the Fairfield button-up. I've made so many of those, and every time I make them, I make a really colossal, weird mistake. The worst one was when I sewed the sleeves, and it's partly because of the way the pattern pieces are marked. So I will claim that I shouldn't have made this mistake, but I've done it so many times on this shirt. I know it's the way they mark the pattern isn't traditional, and it's, you know, when I'm sewing those shirts, it's usually like a time of the year where it's gifts and I have a holiday movie on, and I'm just like, I don't look at the instructions, I don't look at the pattern piece, I just cut it out and sew it. And I've sewn the sleeves on inside out and backwards on the same shirt because it was a yarn dyed fabric, so I couldn't tell the right from wrong side, and I flat filled the seams. And so it took a while for me to figure out what I did. And he wears that shirt, you know, all the time, so it all worked out. All right, we're going to press this seam up into the neckline. I'm going to get my salami. Here we go. And look at all that seam allowance. Like, it would just be a little tighter if it wasn't so much. I don't know about that, Elena. Have you met a Hollywood trust fund baby? Because I have. You do not want to be that person in a lot of respects. for the ones I've met. Or the Beverly Hills trust fund babies. Oof. Big oof. All right. So now this seam right here, we're going to sew it to here because it's actually going to get included in the facing, so it doesn't actually have to go up into the collar. This one does, though, because we're going to clean finish this right over here like that. And this one gets the facing sewn to it. Is this going like too slow for you guys or too fast? Let me know. All right, I'm gonna sew this collar to the neckline here. And we're gonna have to snip now right here into your collar, your under collar and your neckline of your shirt here. So we're gonna snip it like on the front side of the shoulder line. I don't know, Elena. That doesn't seem to be what they do. Just saying. You would be breaking the norm. Okay, so we're going to attach this right here. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of like noodling on things right now. Like, is this how I want to do this, or do I not want to do it that way? All right, yeah, I like my decision to clip in front of the shoulder seam, kind of lining up with this notch right here. So this little notch right here, that's what we're trying to line up with. And I'm going to put my clip just in front of the shoulder seam here. So just to get my bearings, this is the front shirt right here, front neckline. And I'm going to put a slit right there in front of this shoulder seam, just like that. Porridge is just right. Hey, Marin, how's it going? That's exactly what I was thinking, Marin. All right. Yeah, okay. All right, we're gonna sew just this front edge together. So now you can see why I would have just done this in the first place. You know, you'd be insufferable. I think Elaine is a real self-starter. Like she would actually stay busy doing the things and focused. As long as she didn't get caught up in the Hollywood, Beverly Hills inherited money crowd. We didn't lose her to that. I think we're okay. I think they're okay. All right. So we're just sewing right on that seam, same seam, right? Up to the collar. Just like that. So now the seam is attached right here. Dang, Julie. There's a website for that, just so you know. You want to be a sugar baby? I know what you mean, Elena. This morning, I got this idea right before breakfast. I got so involved with it. I completely forgot about the live stream, about what I had to do today. Like, I forgot what day of the week it was. I was just so, like, just in this little world, this little zone, you know? And all of a sudden, I heard my husband talking in the next room because he was like on a Zoom call with somebody. And I went like, you know, what time is it? What day is it? Don't I have to do something today? And I was like, okay, yeah, we need to get up. We need to, I was awake. I was like dressed, fully dressed, sitting at the table, ready to walk out the door. And then got into this rabbit hole. So the seam allowance is huge. Very huge. All right, so this is what you got right now. This is what we're looking like, okay? So we have our loose seam allowance right here between the shoulders at the back neck, right? And we're about to clean all that up by tucking them in there under this piece that we prepared, right? We have our seam allowance here, fully stitched down and pushed down into the shirt, and the facing's gonna get sewn to this right here. Oh, hey, Terry. Oh my goodness, Elena. I love it. All right, let's look at everything. Everything's looking pretty good. We need to put in a label. I've got new labels too. I want to put one of my little plant labels on this one. I'm selling these labels. I haven't told anybody yet. They're even on my website, but I'm going to announce it tomorrow. Okay. I'm going to put this right here. Centering it. Hi, Rachel. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, drive safe. He doesn't wash his jeans, though, Shem, remember? He freezes them. All right. So I think that I would like to remove this stay stitch right here that is on the top collar. I just want to remove it because I can see it, and I'm not going to turn this back any further to get rid of it, so I'm going to get rid of it. Just get rid of the stay stitch. I'm about to top stitch right on top of it, so I probably could have left it. So you love algebra, Anna? Why are you talking about algebra? Oh, algebra. Oh, you were helping with algebra. Terry, is there a cording foot for the our Juki? Like, could I have done my piping with something like that? All right, so now we're gonna top stitch this between the shoulders here. Did I sew this one? Yeah, I did. I sewed that one. Okay, yeah. We're just gonna top stitch this. Now this is gonna show on the underside, but just remember that your collar's turned down at all times, right? So we're just gonna edge stitch this. No sweat, right? We just poked it up there. It wants to sew itself. Look, I have one pin in there, you guys. One pin. This is easy peasy, right? I'm pulling it a little bit taut, and then just making sure my folded edge there actually goes up to the seam line there. Like I said, it is going to show on the right side, but your collar's always turned down. So get this turned under here. I think the thing you have to worry about is torquing. Like, I'm getting a tiny bit on my collar, so I'm going to like ease it in a little bit here. All right. Where's that at? Is that in the right spot? Yeah, I think that's in the right spot. Okay. I see this thread right here. I hate these threads, man. I hate them. All right. We'll look at the other side. See how I did. There it is. Nice and clean. See that? The awl is a very humble companion. And the awl has a very, prized location here. It's always next to me. It's my right-hand person or thing. You do? Okay. You have a cording foot? Oh, okay. I might pick that up. I got the invisible zipper foot and I haven't tried it out yet. We do have, the awl does have its own emote. All drop. All right, so this is what we're looking like right now. We have our unfinished front neck, right? Just flopping around there, raw edges, clean finished back. Look at, we're doing good, right? So now we're gonna put on our piping on this piece here. If you're doing it. If you're not, you can skip ahead if this is recorded for you. Let's find my, all right. It's like literally tied in a knot. Oh yeah, long tweezers are good. You do the rest. Yeah, plus like you make them custom clothes. Let's get rid of this. I should have done this off camera. But it's so satisfying. Wouldn't want to rob you guys of this. Now it's just getting hung up on the wrinkle here. Here we go. There we go. Yeah. You think you would like to make this as a regular post, but you dress uniquely? Okay, here's my cautionary tale about that, Heidi. Yes, they do, Kathleen. The instructions do tell you. So Kathleen, I made the Rita shirt dress. I love that dress. Who's that by? It's by Named Clothing. Love that dress. That was also a NeedleSharp subscription box in this really cool chambray that looks like a totally straight up, straight laced chambray. But if you get close, there's all these little tiny neon flecks of thread. It's such a unique and cool fabric. And I was so into that the next time I decided, oh, I'm going to make this into a shirt, and I'm going to use this fabric I have. The fabric, by the way, was the fabric I used for my closet core pajama bottoms I showed you a couple weeks ago, that was the floral, right? It looked like a pajama shirt because the blouse of the Rita is literally this exact same style of notched collar with a lapel. And I just kept I put it on, and I was like, why does this not sit right? Like, this does not look like streetwear, and I couldn't figure it out. I don't think I'd made the closet core pajamas yet either, to be fair. And that's what it was. It was that I was like, this looks like a pajama top. So it's in my pajama drawer. So, all right. This right here, I'm doing piping. You might not be. I'm going to... Let me make sure. I think this is what I do. I'm going to hang this off 5/8 past this little circle, and we're going to sew this along this whole front edge. All right. So now, just because this is a facing, don't think of it as something that's going to be invisible. The facing in this case is actually the visible side of your collar, right? Because here is your shirt. Look at it. Here, when we turn back the collar, that's what happens, right? It looks like a pajama top. Look at that. And so this is the kind of the wrong side, just this little area here, and this is going to be your right side. So just remember that. All right, I'm just going to hang this 5/8 past this. You need to hang it off there because we're eventually going to go like this. We're going to bend it over to the seam, if that helps you understand what we're about to do. And I'm just going to base this on here because my seam allowance on this piping is so Thumbelina small that I have trouble doing it all at once. I don't trust myself to. Plus, I don't have a foot for it, so. All right. It's like trying to push it away. That's why we're going slow. Jeremy, we're going slow. If I keep my foot on the cording, it stays fairly manageable, but you can tell it's pushing it away and it makes it wiggly. Not a good foot, you guys. Not a good foot for this. My needles should be on the seam line. So you can line up this edge with your 5/8 inch seam. That helps if you're putting this on. And I'm trying to be just inside the seam. There we go. Right here it got a little bit crazy. So we're just going to take this out right here and leave it out. It'll be fine. Just loosen it up so it's not distorted. God, the stitching is so... It keeps feeling so strong. I think my stitch length is just too short. Yeah, we were like, where's Terry? I have a question about my cording foot. And then we were talking about linen. Where's Terry? All right. There, see that relaxed it a little bit right there. All right, let's do the other side. Sorry. Sorry, Steamer Bird, I just dropped you. And we're going to go, remember, put it on the curved side. Yeah, I can imagine. A piping foot sounds like I would actually want to do piping if I had it. A lot of times what I do is I go like this, actually. I will just go to the... I will just sew it on the edge. But this seam allowance is just too narrow. I can't even just put my foot along it and just tack it on there, you know? I actually have to be on it. Piping isn't this narrow anymore, I'm pretty sure. No, 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 no. But if you like seeing me struggle, this is it. I'm struggling. All right, so here's my circle right there. So we're just going to sew up to it and then let it hang off a little bit. All right. Where's that spot where I was getting upset? Right here? Is this it? Doesn't look so bad. But I know better. What time is it? All right, cool. Just making sure. I think this is a good, like, getting the whole collar done and you're done with that. In some ways, it's kind of nice because then you're like, all right, I did the hard part, right? You know, and then you're going to be motivated to finish if you get that done. I'm a little conflicted on, like, when I sew jeans, I like to do the back first. I like to always just do the whole back of the jeans. And I do the fronts last. And I think, like, a lot of jeans, they will do the zipper fly almost right off the bat. And in some ways, that's great because you're just getting it out of the way. However, like, you're also sewing denim. So I do struggle with that. I just think, like, oh, it might be better to start with that. But I like getting my sewing legs under me. You know what I mean? Yeah, my zipper fit's a little different, Heidi. I totally agree. I think if you have a traditional zipper foot, it works great. No, you're not alone, Mary. You tried it on the pants and didn't like the zipper foot. Yeah, I tried it on the zipper foot. Exactly. Yeah, I don't know, Justine. I would just make it myself. It's not hard to make piping yourself, you guys. Oh, yeah, that would be an easier workaround for this, Terry. Just doing a back facing. Totally. All right. So now here we are. We're going to hem, actually, we're going to hem this outer edge. So if you want to overlock it, you can. I think that I'm just going to, I think I'm going to leave mine raw because I'm going to top stitch mine down to the shirt so that it's not waving around. So if you're doing this by the instructions, I would hem this right now. So just do a little rolled hem or overlock it like this and then edge stitch it. So roll, roll. Don't use too much seam allowance. Less than a 1/2 inch total. And then hem this whole long edge here. Not the shoulder. Leave that. All right. Okay. So now we're going to sew this right sides together. Right? And we're going to make sure that this raw edge, this short one, goes past our shoulder seam right here. That 5/8 of an inch. Like that. I'm looking for it. I'm having trouble. You really want to sew right up to that clip that we did right here. So this is the clip. Let me show you a little better. All right, so I'm going to put the shirt down. I'm going to put my facing down like this. And we're going to pull this over like this in just a second. Oh, and if you need to clip this curve right here, do that now because you can see, look, it does kind of want to be released a little bit. Sorry, forgot. The seam allowance is so tiny, I don't notice that it's pulling. That helps a little bit. All right, so now we're going to lay, let's see what you can see here. We're going to lay this top like this on top here, right? Fold your collar back. So we're just doing this raw edge. This is what we're going to be sewing, okay? Shoulder to the hem, all right? Yeah, you could bind it, Heidi. Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, pink it. Yeah, you could pink it. You could totally pink this raw edge too. What I did on my shirt was that I stitched it down to the shirt. What I like about this is that then you don't have that facing flopping around and then it gets wrinkly. All right, so from this side, from the facing side, we're going to put the shoulders back past that clip, right? You just need enough to turn this back and clean finish it. So if you're finding like, dang, I don't have a full 5/8 there, that's okay. Just make sure you have enough to turn back. We're going to line this up on the curve, and you see that there's a notch right here. This is usually called the break point. I don't know if this is their break point, but there's usually a notch on a collar like this, a lapel, that's called the break point. That's where the fold happens. All right, so now pull your piping over to match your collar. You see that? So here's my loose little floppy piping that I didn't secure to my facing. Remember, I stopped there. Pull it around and meet your collar just like that. If you want to tack it, I would go for it. Tack it. We'll just put a pin just like this. Let's make sure we get it. Let's tack it, then I can really control it. All right. So what you're looking at here is my shirt is face up. See, there's my pocket right here, and this is the facing, and I have it folded back like that, right? Because we need to have it there up to this point, and then we fold our piping back just to see where is that little spot that it wants to be. And we're going to meet those piping edges, and I'm just going to tack it right there. See that? And now I'm going to clip this curve of this piping seam allowance a little bit so that it wants to curve a little nicer. All right, now pull up your facing here. Actually, I'm going to take that out. I'm going to do it again. I think I can make it tighter. I was getting a little buckling there. So I think what I need to do is pull out a little of my seam here. It was kind of going too far. All right, so now pull this back here. Get all this flat right here, all right? That was a lot better. Now I feel better about that, okay. Hope I do, because I just backstitched for some reason. All right, now we can pull this up, pull these threads to the seam allowance. Where is this thread at? There it is. And here too. This is going to be tight because it's not clipped. I don't like pre-clipping edges, but if you have to, you have to. All right, I'm just walking it, making sure. Sorry I'm making this look fiddly. I just haven't sewn one of these in a really long time, so I'm just making sure. I'm like, okay, what would be easier to do? I'm just trying to figure out the best way to show you. Because if I can come up with a way that's a little easier, I will. And right now I'm thinking that sewing it from this side would be nice and easy. The problem with that idea is that this edge isn't clipped, so you can see it wants to fall away. Pre-clipping this edge and sewing it from the other side, that's kind of risky. So that's why I'm kind of like, what do I want to do here? I kind of want to clip it, but I'll sew it from this side then. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to sew it up to about right here and then turn it over and sew it the rest of the way. That would be a guaranteed success, and that's what we're going for. All right, so here we have it pinned up to there. I'm not going to turn back this and sew it in the seam at this point. I do that usually, and it usually kind of backfires, so we're just going to get this all the way down to the edge there, because this doesn't have a... Does this not have the hem that's... Maybe it does. Well, I may be revisiting that. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to sew to the left of my seam line here. I think there's a pin poking me in the belly. A periwinkle linen suit. Oh my gosh, Terry, that would be so cute. Also, I love that you love periwinkle, because that used to be like my favorite color for the longest time. think that was last year's Pantone color, and I was like, it's my time to shine. I don't think I used it. This year too, like this year's Pantone color is like that cranberry color, which I just love. And it's called something else, like Vive something. All right, so we're getting to, this is that little, where the piping meets right here. So we're getting to that point. We're going around this curve here. And just sticking to the plan here, making sure all our raw edges line up. The underside's pretty well behaved because it's all clipped and it's been sewn, right? So we want to sew with that seam to the left of the seam or on it. And we really can't see it at this point. This is why this is so fiddly. So make sure this shirt, like I am always saying, make sure that it's taut, perpendicular to your seam. Don't let it be the problem. So I'm just lifting it up, making sure all my raw edges are still lined up. I don't think I'm right on the seam line, but I'm going to fix that in a second. Here we go. So we don't want this to be in the seam either. Pull this pin out so it relaxes a little bit. We want this, pull the shirt, pull the collar. Okay. I'm not going to backstitch that right now. I'm going to flip this over and we're going to go on this side. So let's see, where is my seam? I think that that is my new seam. So I didn't see this stitch line here. That's the one I just did. So you can see I'm not including that seam line yet, but hey, it's tacked, right? So now let's clip this curve here. Sorry, I'm making it look hard, aren't I? All right, we're gonna flip it over. And now we can kind of make this nicer. So I'm going to pull this all back, make sure it's all nice and flat. And we're gonna sew this right to the left or right on top of that seam we've already sewn. So it's almost like we just basted it, but we're just ensuring our success here. Oof. A little nervous about that. Okay. That transition there. Look at that difference right there. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, it looks okay. It would be nice to have it meet perfectly. Maybe on my other one it will. All right. So now we're going to clip this curve. That's it. That's all you had to do. And then I think, still kind of like, do I want to fix that? No, we're just going to leave it. But we are going to like clip this. All right, it's a lot of seam allowance. And it's all going to live inside here, so you can trim it down if you want. I'm going to. But we're going to do it like this. I'm going to trim this down. Make it look a little tidier. Oh man, I'm cutting so badly. All right. All right. I still have a thread poking out of the collar right there. It's so annoying. Where is it? We're going to peel it back. Maybe we're not going to peel it back. It's right there. I hate it when threads like that poke through. That's what I'm talking about, man. All right. So now we can get rid of this thread too. We can turn this back and finish it to the shoulder here. Yours is already hemmed right here, right? Really nice, so that you can just tack it in the shoulder here, hand stitch it, whatever you like. Sometimes that it will go to the seam line itself. So if you don't have a lot of fabric left to fold back here, what I like to do is fold back less and get into the seam allowance of the shoulder like that. But if you're meeting it right there, it doesn't really give you a chance. You're going to have to hand sew it to there. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to edge stitch my facing down at the very end, just so you know. I'm going to clip this curve right here though a little better. You could grade these seams. That would be a good idea actually. Yeah, I feel like the rain was done and then it came back last night. I forgot to tell my husband this. I'm the one who takes the dogs out to bed, before bed. I take them outside because I go to bed a lot later. And I opened the door and they wouldn't even walk out the door. They were like, yeah, and? And usually Molly will be like, okay, and she'll just toddle out there. And then Loki's like, okay, fine, I'll run out, pee, and run back in. Or she'll just sit there and be like, nah, I don't really need to, I can hold it. And she can, he can't. Neither one of them, they were just like, I don't know why you're opening the door, I'm not going out there. I was like, okay, fine. That's interesting. All right, let's, look at this, how wide this is right here. Maybe I can choke up on this piping right here. But, yeah, see this edge right here? It does look really good though, look. It looks like a pajama top. Yay. It could meet better right there. It does in the seam allowance here. It just didn't on the seam line. So that's a good thing to think about. But right here, it's a little slack. You see that? Let's just fix it a little bit. I'm going to use my awl to find where it needs to go. Just pressing it along the cord. That looks better. All right, let's do the other side. You have one more. You can't stop now. All right. All right, so we're gonna put this right sides together. Line up your facing so that this little short edge goes 5/8 past your shoulder line. Night, Julie. Or night, Mullen. Sleep well. Thanks for coming, Mullen. All right. I'm going to try and sew this one just from this side. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I was just about to start sewing, but maybe I should make sure my piping is going to work out. I don't know why I just pinned that. All right. My front's kind of wrinkly too. Wait, what happened to my piping? What the heck? That's not going to reach. Did I have the wrong mark on this side? I think I did. How did that happen? You guys saw me transfer it. Well. What the heck? Look at that. Well, that's annoying. This is the last thing I wanted to show you how to do. I'm going to put my stitch length really short. Gosh darn it. How did that happen? All right, well, I'm going to pull out some of my cord here. There was a pin there. Yeah, but I apparently did not sew to the spot. Like, that's not where the pin should have been. Yeah, now this is relatable content. All right, we're going to piece this together. I'm not going to change my thread color. I'm just going to warn you. It might be triggering for some of you. I'm going to piece this together. So I put a diagonal seam. So look, here's my piping. See? Diagonal. Cut away my cording. That really annoys me. Exactly, Terry. I love it when someone says, you never make mistakes in front of you guys, and you guys are like, yeah, she does. Yeah, that was a mistake. I didn't know I made it. All right, so now we have this seam. Get in there. I'm actually gonna pull this a little bit too so that it butts up against this here. We're gonna press the seam open. Yeah, sewing drama. If you're new here, my chat wishes this upon me. They love me. No, why'd you slip out of the seam? Oh, did you get caught? Okay, you're okay. You're okay. Just stay in there, buddy. Stay in there. All right, No, don't pull too... Oh, I pulled too much. I pulled too much. I shouldn't have pulled. Oh, I'm going to take that out. I shouldn't have pulled. I was just trying to, like, get rid of the little bit of, like, ruffling happening there. And this isn't just fun, but this is the stuff. Oh, it makes it, yeah. I mean, this is why I don't think of so much of what we do as mistakes, and why I harp on the fact that if you don't get to sew 10 in preparation for year 1, you really got to be nice to yourself, because if you don't get to practice it, then why are you expecting perfection? You don't do anything perfect the first time, right? You know, relatively speaking, you know, so it's really strange when people are really upset about certain things, and I'm like, that looks really good though. You only got to make 1, so I don't know. Okay, I'm just pushing this cord in there, and I'm not going to pull it this time. I'm just stitching that down because of the seam there. All right. Okay. That's so annoying though. All right, so we're going to cut this off here. Jerk. All right. And now we're back on track, except that I got to put this on here. I'm going to just go up to the collar right now and bend it. See, it matches right there. Exactly. All right. We're back on track. No one will know but you that happened, right? Hey, and at least you don't have to sew your very first one on camera, right? You can always remember that. I do not mind those kinds of things on camera. All right. I think we're ready to go. So last time I sewed with this side up. Let's try sewing it from the beginning with this side up. I think it'll be hard because of this curve, but I'll pre-clip it. I hate doing that. I'm not gonna clip it a lot. I'm just gonna clip it a little bit, not down to the seam. Yeah, me too, Rachel. It's like it's happened to me before. What would I say is the most challenging part? Well, the fact that I don't have a cording foot makes the piping not my favorite. You know what I mean? Like, I think it could be nicer. And I do think that adds a layer. Okay, let's put the stitch length back up. I put that stitch length really small to piece that piping together, and I forgot. I was like, why is it like I'm sewing through molasses? So I think that leaving off the piping, Ray, there you are. Hi. I would leave off the piping. Yeah, I think that adds a layer of difficulty that's unnecessary. Or I would do it with piping without cord inside. So just flat fabric, folded fabric. It's less high risk. And you don't need a special foot. It's easier to sew, you know. I was just thinking about you today, Ray. It's nice to see you. Hope you're well. That little sound my machine's making right now. All right, so we're in these little areas here where the curves might be a problem. Why are you rattling? Okay. All right, let's swirl this around here. Go. Oh, and you see my labels? They're two-sided, so you can pick which side you want. Okay, see, I'm not doing a full seam allowance. Look at that. Look how far away I am. We need to be at the full seam line. I'm nervous down here though. Right here. Right here. Yeah, is it really slack? Let's see. Is it really slack? It's very slack. Okay. All right, so I'm going to sew this neck seam in right now, and then I'm going to redo that. Let's see if we can get it to match better this time. Yeah, I tend to make my life difficult unnecessarily too. I was just kind of thinking about this like last night or this morning, and I was feeling a little bit like I don't feel overwhelmed right now, and I really like it, but at the same time I feel a little lost. All right, so here we are at this shoulder. I'm just straightening all this out. Like, look at, this is the back, that's the shoulder, this is the neck. The collar's folded down. It makes it easier for me to get into this spot right here. Go up to that shoulder seam, right up to the shoulder seam right there. See that? Okay. And then now look at how my seam allowance was off right there. Look, it's obvious it was off. I was being kind of a scaredy cat. So let's flip it over and join it back up. It just still makes me really nervous. See, it makes me nervous. What's going on in here? So here's my piping, and look, it's matching there, but it's about not to be, and I think that that is a good lesson. So if you're sewing piping on here, what I would recommend is right here at this little spot where you're joining them to the collar, I would actually sew this pretty precisely. Don't do a basting stitch far away from the edge, because what's happening is this is collapsing in like this. It's softening and collapsing in. And then my seam line, when I go across it, there's going to be a gap, right? When what I want is this to be pulled right over here. So that would be my recommendation. Oh, I bet, Elena. Yes, yeah, that is a big factor of my machine. It has the electronics. This machine is a very affordable machine. If you get the electronics, it does add a bit to the price. But yeah, it is a heel lift. So that means my heel is going like this. So right now, if I press my heel back, it lifts the presser foot. If I press really hard, it cuts the thread, lifts the presser foot, and spits it out. It has an automatic back tack, which I don't have turned on right now. I'm doing it with my finger right here. If you're interested in like how this machine, like what it does and what it doesn't do, I have a video about it because I got asked so much. I really like the industrial sewing. I love the pressure of the presser foot. It's really stout. I love it. But, you know, I obviously give up a lot of things. Like I don't have a zigzag stitch. You know, it doesn't do buttonholes. There's no way around that. So, no, Rachel. Your machine's shooting daggers at you? Is it not liking being the center of attention right now? Oh, look at that. That's a lot better. Look at that. Because what I did was I pulled that over while I sewed it. All right, so let's trim this whole edge here. I got nervous. I'm like, why do I see this but no piping? But it's right there. It's right. We're okay. We're okay. I'm going to trim this down. Sometimes the second side looks better than the first of whatever you're doing. Sometimes in my case, it usually looks worse because I'm like, well, I got this. I'm a little too cavalier. Ooh, I'm going out to lunch today with my husband. I forgot. Okay. Boop. All right. I don't like all these threads I have in here, but whatever, right? Let's clip this neck curve a little bit more. When it's this stiff, I get nervous, man. I'm just gonna go clunk. Do you mean like if I'm streaming or if I wasn't streaming? Because it is different for me. I spend a lot more time during the stream kind of explaining things, making mistakes, taking them out, sewing things in a few extra steps sometimes. Sometimes not, though. So it just depends. But this top, I imagine, what time is it? It's 1 now. So I've been sewing for probably about an hour and a half, right? Maybe hour and 45 minutes. And then all we have left is the sleeves and side seams. And those, I'm going to flat fell, so there'll be a few extra steps. Yeah, raise all, yeah, with or without us. So I think I'm pretty much done with what I'm going to sew today on camera. I think that this will be a fairly good stopping point. I might edge stitch my facing down. That's it right now. So it took, we'll say 2 hours to do this today. Yeah, exactly right. I don't think I chatted for too long today, but like yesterday I noticed that I didn't start sewing for like 15, 30 minutes or something like that. I don't know. It's a balance because there are people that do not like the live stream thing, and I understand that. I know you're here for a tutorial, and I do try and keep it going because of that. But the whole point for me with a live stream is that you feel like you can say, hey, I have trouble with that part, or do you have another idea for that, or I don't have a machine that does that, or I don't like the way you do that, do you have another option? So that, you know, it's more of a conversation and you can get help. Yeah, I actually like the way it turned out, Terry. It's some of my better piping, I would think, but it was really fiddly because it was so narrow, you know? So I'm going to edge stitch my piping down, or my facing down. But what I don't like about that is that I am changing potentially a thing for the hem I could do. Because if, like, the nice way to do a hem would be to stitch across the bottom here. You know? Do I take a chance and hem just this little part and then edge stitch it down? I think I do. I'm gonna do it. This is the 1 inch mark. It's 1 1/4. I'm gonna do a 1 1/4 inch seam right here. I know we're not to this point yet. I'm gonna trim this part here, just that, right? And then like this. We actually do a little bit more. So that's the facing at the hem there. So you kind of get that nicer. Can I get that nicer? I'm gonna go around this corner just to make sure I don't lose the stitching. And now I'm gonna trim it a little closer. You love when I go rogue. Some people don't. I have definitely evolved the way I do the live stream because of that. Like, I try to, on some of these patterns that I know there's just a lot of people that are probably sewing these, like this one, I try and stick close to the instructions and go in the same order. Beverly said she'd do the timestamps for today, so you're going to thank her for that when you see her, which is really nice because then it'll probably correspond to someone's instructions except for all my chatter, you know. So, but I don't hesitate to say, this is how I would do it, you know. Oh, that sounds really cute, Anne. Oh, really, Ray? I could see that happening. Okay, so I just found my center fronts, made sure they're the same length. On this one, it's not as critical. You should make your fronts the same length, but because of that curve, that makes it really forgiving. All right, so I'm gonna do again, a 1 1/4 inch seam. This time I'm gonna reinforce my corner right now, like that. And then we're gonna trim around. Trim this down. I can go a little bit further. stay here. And you move over here. All right, turn our corner. Yeah, exactly, Jen. Yeah, I agree. I think like it's really helpful to have lots of ways. There's just not one way to do it. All right, I'm going to edge stitch this down. Oh, I'm barely going to miss my pocket. You're not meant to do that, but I think that it will make the ironing a little nicer. I have to turn under this hem right here too. I'm really getting ahead, aren't I? I'm getting ahead of myself. I think I did this after everything was done last time, and so it's not as clean of a finish. All right, so we're going to turn this shoulder. Like I said, you can just hand stitch the shoulder or turn it down and then edge stitch it to the seam allowance of the shoulder if you can. All right, so I noticed there's a little slack right here, right there. And I think that's because, oh, that's not loose. You see how my edge right here, see how the slack right here? We can zoom out a little bit. That's because of all of the stitching at the piping. It's been stitched like 2 or 3 times, right? And that's gonna bind it up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, well, I knew I was going to finish this whole area. That's what I meant. So when I get to here, I would really like this to be calmed down a little bit. So my non-negotiable is right here. All of this has to be eased in by the time I get there without any torquing. I'm going to fold this under a little bit more. That will get rid of some of it. Like that. I can see it's tighter here and looser here. If I go like this, it'll be fine, right? And then here, this can get clipped a little better. If you're seeing some like little pull lines, clip your neckline before you finish. So if you're seeing like little point, oh, I have a little tuck in my facing. That's part of it too. We'll just scratch it out. All right. And then here, yeah, and let's see how it looks on this side. This looks pretty good. I don't see that kind of stuff happening on that side. All right, make sure all this is nice and flat. My computer controls my camera zoom. Well, I control my camera zoom. I control it all. Mwahaha. When I know what I'm doing, I control all of it. I don't always know how to fix something. I got a Stream Deck, and I really hoped that I could make it zoom in and zoom out for me. I have not figured that out yet. I thought that would be nice to be like, ooh, what if I could just press this button and I could like lighten up or darken up or zoom in, zoom out, just like little taps. Maybe I can do that. I just haven't checked it out yet. Man, I should have waited to do this at the very end. I should not have done this now. I'm gonna turn right here at the corner like this. I'm not gonna backstitch. I'm gonna leave a tail, and I'll tell you why later, because we're gonna do a seamless backstitch there. See, now this looks like this. See, it's stitched down nice and flat up to the shoulder there. Let's edge stitch this in the shoulder seam allowance. And I'll only do this side. We'll do the other side properly. I am. Yeah, I can show you. I can kind of show you. If you're interested, I do have a video about my studio. It's a little outdated, but the setup's about the same. So I got pretty close there. See that? You'd probably want to hand stitch it, but just like Nancy, I am allergic to hand sewing, so I will do that later. But I would probably hand stitch that. Like that. I just like floppy facings too. This is definitely my own little thing. There, look at that. Let's look at the other side. let's look. So cute. I love my little plant label on this fabric. It looks really cute. I was kind of tired of labels that have text on them. I mean, I know I put so on one side of this. Look at how cute it is. It's so cute. So I made labels that had just pictures on them. Oh, this is really cute. I love it. All right, so to see my setup, so you can see there's a camera right there on scissor arms, like that. The one I'm moving with my hand, same thing. I don't think I can show you. It's very ugly in front of me. Look, there you guys are. There's the chat. This over here on the, this right here, this is my stream software. There's my iron. There's all kinds of apparatus in the way. This right here is another microphone. That's a swivel, so I can rotate my camera over there. That's my pattern table. This white is my pattern table. See, there's my iron weight. That's a box I use for filming. That white is the light. The wood is my frame. There you go. It's very ugly. People come in and they're like, oh, what do you do? And then they see it and they're like, oh. Far too nice for bed. I made this a little bigger, Julie, so that it I can wear it as like an overshirt over like a tank top. I'm gonna zoom out a little further so you can see more of my shirt. That didn't change any of it. Did that change it? There we go. Yeah, exactly, Shem. This isn't meant for that. I look at that. I really barely missed the pocket, but you can trim them down. I should have ironed this fabric. Yay. All right. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I have 4 cameras, 4 total. I have the machine, which is we're on. I have my iron. I have a full face cam. So the camera right here that you're seeing, that is its own scene as well. Cool. All right, so Saturday I will put on the sleeves, and I'm doing short sleeve, but I'm still doing piping in the little cuff. We don't have much to do on Saturday. Hem, stuff like that. Yeah. Yay, Rachel, I'm so glad. Nice. Yeah, I'll start selling. They're on my website right now. I just told the guild, I gave them a heads up yesterday. I'm not going to sell out or anything, but they're on my website if you want to check them out. Nice, Priya. Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, I took my time today. I really drew it out. If anyone's watched my other one, I'm wondering how it compares, like how well I did. I know it's a really popular video, but I feel like I just doubt that I did it very well. You know, I'm always like, oh. You're not too late, Ray. Just mail it whenever. As long as they're able to tuck it in, it's hopefully not that bad. My neck facings flop out the neckline. Yeah, Danny. Right? I know. I don't like floppy facings at all. All right, so Saturday. Oh, thanks, Terry. Yep, the guild. Well, that's the guild. My website is soso.live if you want to check it out. Is this the only video I have with this type of collar? No, I'm pretty sure. Well, I've sewn the Carolyn pajama top again with this style collar. And it's this, it looks like this. If you're looking for that video, it's this one here. This is the shirt. And then I also think that the Rita shirt dress is very, very similar. So, oh, you're welcome, Francie. Thanks for coming in. I'm so glad. Yeah, so Kathleen, I have a video where I sew, let's see how this looks. Yeah, I tacked this facing down after I sewed the hem last time because I was like, nah, not doing that floppy flop stuff. Let's see how I did this. Oh, I actually got really close there. I did it in the shoulder seam. Oh, I included it. No, I did not include it. Yeah, and eventually I'll have my website updated where the Carolyn pajamas are, and these will be included. If you go to the website, that will take you to links to those. Unless you can find them on YouTube easily. YouTube's kind of weird, so. Yeah, I like the Rita dress. I would like to make that again. It's not too hard. I really drew it out so that in multiple steps. So hopefully that works for you. So thanks for coming, you guys. Right, Elena? I know. It's too wide, I think. The pocket for maybe some sizes would interrupt the stitching there. I'm pretty close on this one too. I actually had hemmed this first and then decided to stitch it down. So that's why it's narrower. I remember going, oh, I don't like that. I'm just going to stitch. I wonder if I did that on camera. I could have done it off camera after looking at it. I was like, I'm just going to stitch that down. This is the long sleeve with the cuff too. See, no piping in there. I feel like there's 2 pockets. No, just one. I love this fabric, this chambray. It's nice. No label. I overlocked the sleeve. Oh, with my old serger, I can tell. I pre-overlocked it. Then I did a French seam. We're going to flat fell all that this time. That'll be the difference. Okay, I'm going to let you guys go. Thanks for coming. I'll see you guys Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific, same time, same place. I've already got the stream scheduled, so you can set a reminder if you want, if that works for you. I learned something about those recently. You know how you guys say, I never get a notification, I have notifications on. I don't put notifications on for almost everything I am subscribed to, so I get it. I don't really want that, like blowing up my phone or anything like that. I know some people get upset that they don't get a notification because they miss it. They're not on Instagram to see me post my reminder. I learned why this happens, and it's because in your YouTube settings, because there are YouTube settings, you might have the notifications muted in there, or you have them muted in your phone settings. So even if you say, I want this stream I'm going to watch, you know, you're going to watch Jen Stern or Lauren Mormino, right? You know, they're live streamers, or Andrea of So to Fit, right? And you don't want to miss their live stream. And you set the reminder because if they have it scheduled, you can set a reminder or just have notifications on. You still don't get it. Your phone can suppress the notification, just so you know that. Hey, PETA. Nice. I'm glad. So I just thought I'd tell you guys that. I don't know if it's true for sure, but I think it's true. So, all right. See you guys Saturday. Where's my thumbnail? There it is. Nope, that's not it. Bye.